All right, I'm Trevor Charles. I've been coming to fellowship since 2017-ish. My story is one that I've always been or considered myself spiritual. I think my family growing up always encouraged us to go to church. I even taught CCD when I was in middle school. My father also was particularly religious. He was very interested in researching religion. I'd always been inclined to study history and to really understand fact and science and whatnot, because I did feel this pull towards God, but I knew that all religions were man-made in some level, and that for me meant that they were flawed on some level. And so no matter what religion I sort of studied or looked into, I didn't find like an answer or a satisfaction. I went to Jewish synagogues, I went to Muslim mosques, I went to Buddhist temples, I went to a Unitarian church in Meriden for a while, I had a Mormon church for about 9 months, I did a Lutheran church for the better part of 6 months, just to try and figure out like, hey, is this the one? Is this what's gonna give me sort of a sense of satisfaction? I studied religion because I believe that everybody should try to be a good person. And that if you study religion, it gives you at least some sort of motivation or some general rules or guidelines to being a good person. And in my heart, I knew that was important. But it was really kind of like where it ended. So I went on and put my sort of faith and time into being successful in this world. I spent a lot of time worrying about finances and making the right decision. When I did finally, meet my wife and we got married, we spent 4 years trying to have kids. My wife endured 17 cycles of IVF, and we found no success. We stressed a lot. And then we luckily were able to have kids through a surrogate, and we had twin boys. But 11 days in, Preston, our first son, passed away due to a number of complications. And it left us again stressed and not understanding it. We later had twins later on because we really wanted to have siblings for our son Grayson. And they also had a lot of complications. They were born at 26 weeks. I had to spend months in NICUs. Now I was still praying every day, and I always had a sort of sense of God, but I didn't know what God I was sort of like praying to. And it was a few months into that the Salafias invited us to go to fellowship and go to the last blast. And I can remember very clearly that my first service, I was like, oh, fellowship is like one of those churches, like a worship kind of rock band thing going in the beginning, and like a sermon afterwards. And this was more like kind of that, hands in the air, singing, praising. But I really enjoyed the message Andy gave. It felt like, hey, this is what church should be about. Back to this idea of like being a good person, making good choices. And so I came back week after week after week. And a couple months in, all of a sudden, I was looking around during worship and being like, man, why don't I have what they have? I could have that. I feel like I could be happy. Like, I want to look into this. And so we did the membership class at Fellowship. I did more research. I talked to Pastor Rich. I read a bunch of books and did more research about Jesus specifically and his relationship to history and the Gospels and where do they come from. And I tried to answer every question an atheist perspective would have. Coming from a historian perspective and a modern perspective, like what records do we have that Julius Caesar was around and the events that happened were true, and compare that to, let that be the same criteria that I felt like I needed to know if what happened to Jesus was true. There was so much more evidence for a belief in Jesus than there are for belief in historical figures in so many instances that I was like, you know what, maybe Jesus is the answer to like what I've been missing here. Rather than trying to find like what's the answer to life or what's the answer to spirituality that's going to give me like the confidence and satisfaction, I came to realize that the real answer to making me feel whole and complete was having a relationship and pursuing a relationship with Jesus. Wanting to know Jesus as a friend. Wanting to talk to Jesus as someone I could confide in. Wanting to know or feel like Jesus is listening and hearing me. I genuinely do not have the same stress on any sort of comparable level that I did before knowing Jesus. Philippians 4 in particular, I think verse 8, it's like focus on being honorable and admirable and truth and love and kindness. And that's all I ever wanted. The amount of peace that has given me, and the reason that I want, to raise my kids and bring my kids to fellowship and to know that is to give them that sense of peace. I want nothing more in this world than my family to experience the same level of peace, security, and confidence that I've learned through that relationship. I genuinely believe now that the answers I was looking for about why did we lose Preston and why were all these difficulties happening and things like that, all those things led me to here. Not only has it brought me peace to the relationships and the world that I'm living in now and today, it's also brought me peace with the history in the past that I struggled with for so many years. So that's my story.